Hey guys, Gordon Ryan here with Natalia Santoro, and we're going to go over some guard passes today. What what I want is to give you is a full and complete guard passing system for Nogi. What I don't want is just to give you here's a set of techniques, have fun with them, and then if you guys watch the video, and then in 2 weeks you have everything that you're practicing everything and doing all the techniques that I showed you. What I want essentially is for the DVD to be a second sensei to you, okay, where it takes you not just 2 or 3 weeks to get down all the techniques that I'm showing you, but giving you the underlying principles of guard passing and where my mindset is when I'm passing someone's guard, what goals I have in mind, okay, and goals and concepts overlaid with, of course, techniques. Okay, so that it takes you not just a few weeks to get good at, but years and years to complete a full guard passing system. And I want to give you these goals and ideas and where my mind is when I'm passing, so that when you're looking to go into guard passes, you don't just copy what I'm doing, but you eventually go beyond what I'm teaching you, and you use the same mindset to create your own reliable guard passes. Okay. Early in my jiu-jitsu career, you didn't really see too much of me guard passing. I was mostly a guard player because my leg locks were so dangerous, and I would just do most of my attacks from bottom guard. But eventually, I got to a point where uh, people were so afraid of engaging my guard because they were afraid of getting submitted that they would just start stalling. So then I had to start playing top position. So I really started working on my wrestling, my sweeping game, and going into guard passes once I got on top. Because I knew if I could get to someone's back, I can always finish them. And the easiest way to do that is to pass a guard and get to mount or side control, and then eventually go into back takes. So if you look at uh, my current career from ADCC until now, it's been a lot more top game, a lot more guard passing, a lot more finishes from the back. Versus in the beginning, it was just a lot of leg attacks because not too many people played a leg lock game. So when we look at guard passing, the sport is still very young. Okay? If you look at most black belt world champions, they're very good at specializing in one of three types of guard passing. Okay, there's three types of guard passing: are tight passing, where you have typical head and arm, body lock, or under over passing, where you actually put wedges around your partner's hips, torso, and head and arm to control them. Two is loose passing, where we use toriandos, throwing the legs to the side, or a new kind of passing where we post our hands on the floor and use our legs to outpommel our partner's legs. And we have submissions to get past our partner's guard. Okay, so we have three kinds of guard passing. Most world champions specialize in one type of guard passing and are usually pretty decent at the other two. But again, the sport is still so young. So what we're trying to do is master all three types of guard passing, but then combine them in a way that nobody else can. Okay? And when you can master all three kinds of guard passing, submissions, tight passing, and loose passing, that's what makes you an unstoppable guard passer. If you look at guys like Roger and Marcelo, two of the greatest of all time, they're very good at using submissions to get past the guard, and they're very good at tight passing. Okay, and those are just two areas of guard passing. Imagine a guard passer in the future, 10, 15 years from now, who's mastering all three kinds of guard passing, using submissions to get past the guard when your partner starts extending limbs away from you, tight passing by actually putting wedges around your partner's shoulders and head, torso, or hips, and loose passing using movement to put pressure on your partner. Okay. Now that we established the three kinds of passing, we're going to look at what are my goals from each position. Okay. So obviously we have very specific goals when we're in each spot, but overall we have a broad list of things we're trying to accomplish. The first is we're looking to pin our partner's shoulders and head to the floor by getting to an upper body position. Whether we use body locks or head and arms, anytime we can pin our two partners' shoulders to the floor, we massively increase our chance of passing. Another goal that we have is putting so much pressure on our partner, either through movement with the feet or by pinning them down, that they feel they're going to get their guard passed and they have to turtle away from you and turn away from you and give you back exposure. Okay, so one is either pinning the shoulders and head, two is creating back exposure, three is putting so much pressure on them that they have to start extending their body to get you away from them. They expose limbs, and then you can go into submissions from there. And four is anytime you can get your partner's knees and feet to point away from you, you can easily pass their guard. Okay, so what I mean by that is anytime we can come in, we can pin our partner's head and shoulders, we can usually easily pass from here. Okay? Anytime we can create so much pressure on our partner, where she feels she's going to get her guard pass and she turns away from me, we can create back exposure here. Anytime that we feel like we put so much partner on our pressure that she starts pushing away from me and extending limbs, now we can come in and use that to attack my partner's guard and look to go into submissions. Okay? Remember, we're not always just trying to pass the guard, but we're trying to attack the guard. Okay? We can use submissions just as much as we can use guard passes. Okay? So one of the things that was an issue for me with filming a guard passing instructional was, how do I structure this? Okay, I have all the knowledge, it's just condensing it into a coherent series of movements so you guys can understand it. And a lot of the things overlaps. Again, it's not like showing a back attack system, like for example, where I have someone's back, we're in a relatively static position, and then we can go into attacks from there. There's so many things that can happen when you engage somebody's guard. They switch from one guard to the other, they're De La Riva on one side, they go reverse De La Riva on the other side, they're entering into Ashigarami, and they're doing all kinds of things. Okay, so a lot of the things we're going to be doing today is off of this position where we have an inside foot. We'll call our right foot as an inside foot. Okay, where I can use either inside passes, where I step a foot to the inside and I try to get to inside position, or outside passes. So all of our inside passes are going to be established by getting our inside foot to one of our partner's hamstrings. Okay, so our inside foot can be in two positions. One is a straight hamstring, where I step in and I connect my leg to my partner's hamstring directly in front of me. Two is the inside foot comes to a cross hamstring here. Okay, and based off of these two positions, we can go into passes on either side. Now, when I put my partner in these positions, it gives her either a reverse De La Riva or an outside De La Riva. So we have to be able to deal with these two guards accordingly. As I step in, there's early defenses and there's late defenses. When she goes to invert inside my legs, from here, an early defense would be not letting her invert, for example. Okay, stopping her head from coming underneath my legs through pommeling legs or what have you. We also need to be able to go into late defenses, where she does get almost to a full inversion, and now what do I do from here? Okay, what you don't want is to just spend 95% of your time not getting into a bad position, and then when you do finally get into a bad position, you don't have any answers for it. Okay, we have to go over early and late escapes. Same thing with submissions. If I have an armbar, my partner has an armbar on me, and we go into an early escape, we have our hands locked still. Okay, if we spend all of our time not getting our hands separated, once we finally do get our hands separated, now I have no options from here. So we use early escapes and late escapes with submissions, just like we do with any of the other positions. Okay, so I structured most of this off playing with an inside foot and dealing with my partner's guard on either side. Okay, and then we'll go into, of course, body lock passing, loose passing, and what happens if my partner does get into all these late positions per se. So the first thing we're going to do is look at how to open closed guard. Okay, one of the oldest positions in the sport. If my partner's down in a closed guard, I cannot stress this enough. You have to stand up to vertical posture. You see so many people, especially without the gi, okay, when you can't push in the pant legs or do any of that. If you're going against anyone relatively high level, you cannot open their guard if you're on your knees. I see so many high-level black belts sitting on their knees from this position, and they just sit. If you're trying to stall, it's fine. But if you actually want to do jiu-jitsu, you have to stand up to vertical posture in order to separate your partner's legs and actually go into attacks. Okay? So the first thing is, how am I going to stand up from here? I encounter problems when I go to stand up because every time I post my partner's hips or what have you, every time I lean my weight forward and my heels disconnect from my butt, if she pulls her knees into her chest, it always pulls me forward, and now we can never stand up. Okay? So the whole thing is, how do I fight my hands to the inside position? Okay? Whether it's two hands inside my partner's biceps or V grips inside of my partner's armpits. Now from here, when I lean my head forward, when she goes to pull me in with her knees, I can always base out on my partner's biceps, and that allows me to come up to my 2 feet. Okay, you can step up 1 foot at a time, where you step up and you flare your leg out and you stand up, like we're taught in the basic classes. But a much more effective and easy way to stand up is to bring your head over your partner's head. Once my head is over my partner's head, it creates weightless legs and hips. So it's relatively easy now, even if you're not athletic, to just pop up, and now I'm in a standing position. Now from here, there's two things my partner can start to look to do. One is scoop underneath my leg, or two is grab both of my legs and look to sit me back down in this direction. Okay? So we'll deal with the most common one, where she grabs two of my ankles. The first thing I do is immediately stand up to vertical posture, like so. Now, the only way she can knock me backwards is to unlock her legs. So let's assume she keeps her legs locked as long as she can, and when I open her legs, then she goes into sweep me. Okay? So from here, I'm going to take my right hand inside of her knee. I'm going to go hand over hand. My head moves away over the far knee, and I straighten my two hands. So that from here, I just hop and bounce my body up and just shake my partner's legs open. Now, if my head stays directly over my partner's head, and she drops her hips and brings her legs down, she's always going to be able to sit me backwards in this direction. Okay? That's no good. So the whole thing from here is I can't kick my leg straight back. It always gets stuck on her fingertips. The only way that my leg can come free is by circling forward and around like so. Because my head's over hers, both my legs have a considerable amount of weight on them. So I lean my head over my left foot or over my right foot, so that my foot, my knee, my hip, and my head form one straight line. And now from here, we come forward with one foot and around. Now, the whole battle from here is the inside knee position. If she can invert her right knee inside of my knee, she can go into X guard, Ashigarami, and all of her attacks. So my whole thing, as soon as I open her leg, is to push a knee down, and now I have inside knee and foot position. And just like we talked about before, everything from our passing game is going to be from here or from here. So we open the closed guard, and we immediately get to an inside foot. Okay, so that's one of our basic closed guard breaks. We're from here, we're fighting with our hands. We can't come forward into a standing position without being in trouble unless we have hands inside the biceps or inside the armpits. If the hands are on the floor, we can stand up, but she can go into attacks on your arms. Okay, so the safest way for us to do this is always to bring hands inside biceps. If she grabs a hold of my wrist, I always have to peel grips first and come inside. You always have to remember, the person who dominates the gripping exchanges will dominate the setups. And the person who dominates the setups usually dominates the match. Okay? So if we can dominate the gripping exchanges from any position, we can dominate all of our setups. And if we can do that, we can in turn dominate the match. Okay? So if she makes grips on me, it's always peeling her grips, never accepting her grips. We're grip fighting, she's trying to make 2-on-1s, and then we come in and we have hands inside the biceps, or V-grips inside the armpits. Now from here, we lean forward, we step either one leg up and then the second leg up, or we lean forward head over head so that our hips and legs become weightless, and we can easily pop up like so. Now from here, my feet are square. I start standing up to vertical posture. I lean my head to one side, so I have two hands posted inside of my partner's knee. From here, I straighten my arms by moving my head out, and then I just shake until my partner's legs come open. Now, my head is already over my own foot. So when she goes to off-balance me backwards, we give one big back step, and then we make sure to maintain inside knee position here. If we lose the battle for inside knee position, her knee comes inside, and she has all of her attacks on me now. So my whole thing from here is to always stuff her knee outside of mine, so that from here, we can easily come in and start to go into guard passes from here. Okay? So that is our first guard break. Now we have to deal with someone scooping underneath our leg. Okay? So from here, we come in, we get inside bicep control, we stand up to vertical posture, and now she scoops inside my leg. So her whole thing from here is to bring her hand to her head and to bring her hips over the line of my leg. So if she can raise her hips up and start to get my knee to fall outside the line of my foot, I fall and I'm down to the floor. So my whole thing is to keep my knee inside the line of my foot. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to immediately take my left knee and turn it in towards my partner's hip. So that now from here, when she goes to off balance me, it's incredibly difficult. Now we come up And once again, we come up to vertical posture and we start separating our partner's legs. Now from here, we take our right foot and we just back step so that we can again steal inside knee position. And now we're into our prime foot position where we can go into all of our passes from here. Okay. This time from here, we deal with an opponent not grabbing two outside legs, but scooping on the inside of one leg. Okay. So from here we come in, we're fighting for inside bicep control. If we can get inside control, even when she goes to pull her knees into her chest, I can easily stand up. Now from here, as I go to stand to vertical posture, she scoops one leg. From here, I immediately turn my knee into my partner's hip to make sure my knee stays inside the line of my foot. So when she goes to off balance me in this direction, it's very difficult. Now from here, we come in, up to vertical posture, two hands inside the knee, we move the head away, and we shake, shake, shake. Now, I don't want her to access my second foot. So immediately, I start backstepping, my elbow comes inside, and we steal that precious inside knee position, where now we can start to go into passes on our partner. We've talked about the early reactions to when my partner goes to sit me down from a closed guard. And we looked at if from here, we can stand up, and she takes two hands outside my ankles. From here, the whole thing that I'm trying to do when she separates her legs is to lean to one side and back step out. The problem is, what happens if I do get caught or I do get sat down to my butt? Okay. As she goes to sit me down from this position, from here, the first thing I have to concentrate on is pinching my two knees together. If my legs are splayed open, she can easily come up, high step on top of me, and now I end up in bottom mount. Okay. So my whole thing from here is to immediately lean back, pinch my two knees together, and bring my hips up high. So now when she goes to come up on top of me, it's incredibly difficult from this position. Now, a few things that we can do from here. One thing we'll do is from here, we'll take two of our partner's ankles, and we'll start lifting like so. So that from here, when she goes to get up, it's very difficult. Now, as we sit up, we let go of one, and we post on our elbow, and then up to our hands. Now from here, we're just gonna heist up, and we're gonna bring our partner's ankle up like so. So that when one ankle comes up, we bring 1 foot, 2 feet. Now we go into more passes that we're gonna look at in a little while from here, okay? From the stacked position. Another great option is from here, we fall down. From here, we bring our hips high. And now, of course, we have all our entrances into leg attacks by coming through, crossing the legs, or splitting the legs. Okay, so we're going to look into going to leg attacks here. We have a variety of leg attacks that we can go into. As far as passing, another great thing that we can do from here is from here, we're going to bring two of our partner's legs to one side of our body. So that from here, we can start to sit up and come into a tight waist like so. Now, what brings my left foot out and free is from here, I heist up and I just do a technical stand up where my left foot comes out like so. And now my whole thing is to bring my head over my partner's far shoulder. So from here, we come in, my head comes over my partner's far shoulder, and now we're into passes from here. If from here, we see that our partner gives us a hard time of getting my head over the far shoulder, and she's pushing me away, from here we come in and we bring two hands inside of my partner's biceps. So as she goes to push on my shoulders, we just come in and we split the biceps open, bring our hands inside. And now we cover on top of my partner's far shoulder with our head, and we come into a nice pass from here. Okay? So we have one. We use V-grips to initially bring our partner's legs up. The whole thing, that is, when we fall, we initially take our two knees together and we raise our hips. So that from here we can go into either V-grips or we can pass the legs across. Another great option we have from here is we can bring our legs up initially and we can split our partner's legs with our leg like so. So that from here we come in, we scoop our partner's leg, and we come up to a hand. Now from here, the whole thing is to get my head in front of my partner's quadricep. So I heist up from here, and I bring my head in front of my partner's leg. If she can invert, if I go to pass from here, if she can invert her knee, so that her knee points towards me like we talked about before, now she's going to re-guard easily. So my whole thing is to come in,
my head comes into place, and now from here, my left hand shoots across my partner's body, and I control her hip like so. So that from here, we can sit through, and as we sit through, our hand comes out, and now we circle into north-south. Okay. So we have 3 good methods. If we get set down from closed guard, and your partner tries to come on top, we first pinch the knees together, we raise the hips. So when she goes to crush me, we V-grip initially, we sit up, we post the hand, and now we heist. Now as one foot raises, the second foot comes up, and now we're ready to go. Another great option is from here, we come in, we pinch the knees together. From here, we have leg entrances that we can go into with leg attacks. But talking specifically for guard passing, we can come in and we can bring our partner's legs to one side of our body. So that from here, we can start to sit up and cover into a tight waist like so. Now I heist up by taking my left foot out and trying to get my head over my partner's far shoulder. Here. If from here I feel like I can't get over the far shoulder, it's usually because she's pushing on my shoulders. So when I feel she's pushing on my shoulders, we come in, we go hands inside my partner's biceps, and we just open up our elbows. Then now when she goes to push me away, we come inside, we cover the far shoulder, and now we're in. Another great pass. From here, we come in, we split our partner's legs off that initial V-grip. So from here, we bring one leg inside, and now, as we go to sit up, we come into a scoop on our partner's leg. We have an initial leg, we scoop, and we use that scoop to pull us up to our elbow. Now as we come up, we start heisting. And the whole thing from here is to make sure her knees can't point towards me. So I do this by gluing my head to the top of my partner's leg. If my head's out here randomly somewhere, she can easily invert the knee and face her knees towards me, which is no good. If I glue my head to my partner's knee, that now from here, when she goes to face me, it's difficult. Now I block my partner's far hip so that from here I can come in and walk around to north-south. If at any point when I'm trying to come through, your partner high legs, your partner has to high leg so that her far foot goes inside of your armpit. If the far foot just comes over your leg and doesn't go inside the armpit, you just turn the shoulder down. Now you have your partner passed. Okay? Where now from here, we can circle into north-south. So your partner has to high leg all the way into your armpit. As she high legs into the armpit, from here, it gives you a scoop grip now on the opposite side. Where from here, we come in, we push our partner's leg down, we slide our knee across my partner's leg, and now we're in on the same pass on the opposite side. Where now her knees are pointing away from me. So it's harder for her to re-guard on this side and high leg over. From here we come in, we bring our foot across hand across the hip, and from here we circle to north-south. Again, if she does manage to high leg over, we come into a scoop grip on this side, and we just repeat the process back and forth. If she high legs on this side, we push the leg down, hand comes across, and we pass on this side. Okay. Now from here, this is assuming that we can get inside position on my partner's right arm with our right elbow. So from here, we can pass our head to the hip and walk around. If my partner does a really good job of bringing her 2 elbows together on top of the chest, so that when I go to walk around, she can start to elevate me from here and bring her knees inside. I need to negate this with one of 2 ways. One is my head position on my partner's hip, so that from here my head comes down so that her knees don't come inside of my shoulders. And now when I go to walk around, it's difficult. The second way we can handle this is we can take a scoop grip on our partner's leg, which we'll look at a lot more, and from here we come in and we slide our shin across our partner's hips. So now when she goes to bridge or move around, it's very difficult from here. And now we have time to fight our elbow back inside of our partner's elbows so that we can walk around our partner into north-south. Where we fight our partner's elbow with our elbow, and then from here, we walk around to north-south. Okay? We can also, if your partner's elbow comes down relative your partner's elbow on this side, down relative close to your hip. You can use your hip to walk your partner's elbow up. And now we have inside position. Okay. So the last one, your partner, we stand up. We open your partner's guard, and she sits us down to the ground. We initially come up, and we V-grip. So when she goes to come up on top of us, it's very difficult from here. Now we split the legs. We put a scoop grip in place. Now we pull ourselves up with a scoop grip, and we set up into this good attacking position here, where we've outflanked our partner. Now from here, as we come up, we come through, we bring our hand through, and we sit across our partner's hips. If she goes to high leg over during this transition, and she goes into the armpit, we just push the leg down, and from here, we slide across, and we come back to the opposite side. Okay? We can also use this for simple leg drag variations. From here, we come in, we use a scoop grip, we sit up, and now from here, we just come in and we slide the knee across. So now our head can come over our partner's far shoulder. And again, her whole thing from here is to make space with the upper body so she can invert the knee and point her knee towards us. So we can either one, cup the knee here. So when she goes to bring the knee in, it's difficult. Two, if I feel her using her hands to peel my hand off of her knee, then I use a reverse V-grip down by the ankle. So now when she goes to bring her leg in, she can't, and she has no access to my hands. So we can use this to come up into a position where we use an initial scoop grip, we come up, then we just switch to a leg drag, where we either cup the knee, we bring our knee down, or if I feel her peeling my hand off to try to invert her knee, I switch to a reverse V-grip down by the ankle. So when she goes to bring the knee up, it's very difficult, and from here, we can fight our way to upper body positions. Okay, so if we do get set down, we have to use our late responses. Those are great ways to adapt from there. So, like we've been talking about, the whole thing for me is to stand up to vertical posture. Okay, whether my partner allows me to get inside bicep ties, whether she breaks my posture and she gets an initial collar tie, I have to stand up. So what I want is to have my hands inside biceps or V-grips inside the armpit. Okay, let's say worst case scenario, she does break my posture and she has a collar tie. I can always post my hands to the floor briefly, pop up to my feet, and then use my hands to clear collar ties and come in and stand up to vertical posture. Okay, now from here, when I separate my partner's legs by pushing on the feet, I'm trying to fight to have an inside knee. Okay, if my partner's smart and she turns her hips, now she looks to invert a knee and bring her knee inside. Okay, so that's when I have to fight for inside knee and foot position. Okay, if my partner, on the other hand, stays with square hips and tries to knock me backwards, now from here, a good option I have, if I can lean forward enough to pinch my knees and extend my legs before she can sit me backwards, I can access V-grips on my partner's legs. So as soon as I see her legs open, we're immediately here and here, where now we can put our partner's toes down to the floor, and now we can do a series of passing from here. Okay, and we're gonna work on passes from here a little bit later in the DVD or in the instructional. Okay, but our whole thing is to put our partner's toes to the floor and keep the hips elevated over the shoulders. Right, and now from here we'll go into our passes. So if I find myself in a position where I can get inside bicep ties or inside V-grips, that's great. If I find she has a collar tie on me, I can always briefly post my hands, come head over head, pop up, and then immediately start fighting my hand back to the inside position as I clear my partner's hand off. Now I stand up to vertical posture, my head comes to one side, and I shake my partner's leg off. If she tries to drop down with her hips square to take me backwards, we can pinch our knees together, hips forward, and pin my partner's feet down to the floor. Now we can look to do all of our passes from there. So another great way to go through, to get past our partner's top knee when there's no hand involved is for me to pommel a butterfly hook in. Okay? We're going to look at later, when my partner pommels her own butterfly hook in, it's kind of important to have my butterfly hook in as well. Okay? It's not the end of the world if we can't get the butterfly hook in, but it's preferred. When she has a butterfly hook in on me, from here, it makes it much harder for her to use her knee to push me away from her. Okay? If she tries to push me away, I can always crush her knee down to the side and circle behind her legs. Okay? But when she has a high knee shield, now when I put a butterfly hook in, she can easily push me away, and she can use this elbow to clear her hand to clear the knee, and then her knee can come in. Okay? And I have no ability to crush her leg to the side because her foot will stop me from going in this direction. Okay? But there are certain times when I can pommel butterfly hooks in. Okay? I can pommel a butterfly hook in when my partner has a high knee shield when the arm is not in my way. So from here, we're going to pommel a butterfly hook in. We're going to take our hand and we're going to pull this leg through. Okay? From here, the last thing we looked at was pulling this leg through and coming over my partner's leg, and my partner locking her legs, and then us fighting to inside position. Right. Now we're going to come in and we put a butterfly hook in place. So that from here, we can pull my partner's leg through, and we can go over our partner's hip, but we can keep our right leg up in the air. So now this butterfly hook allows me to dominate the space between my partner's knees. So as she goes to bring her feet together, it's very difficult from this position to actually hold me in place. Yes, she can lock her legs, but to actually pinch her knees together is impossible because of my butterfly hook. Now from here, I'm in a relatively stable position. When she goes to move around from here, both of her hips are controlled by my legs. So now we come in, we fight to inside position by either going cross face and underhook, by using the elbow slice method, coming in, reaching over the back and through. Okay, and then from here we can always come in and we can backstep out. If we get to an underhook and a cross face, we use one method, where from here we lean forward to separate our partner's 2 feet, and now I make space for my right foot to pommel on top of my left leg. I don't want to take my left leg off and then try to pommel my right leg in because she'll just pinch her knees together, and now my foot's trapped again. So from here, I make space for my right foot to come through, and I pommel almost this Indian style position where I'm sitting crisscross like this. Okay. Now from here, when she goes to keep my leg trapped, my foot is no longer inside of my partner's half guard. My knee is trapped, but my foot isn't. Now from here, we just drop our left hip, we extend our right leg to get our partner's knees pointing away from us, and we walk towards our partner's hips to solidify the pass. Okay? So that's if we come in, we insert a butterfly hook, and we can pull our partner's leg through. From here we come in, and assuming we can work to an underhook and a cross face, we pass like so. We lean forward, we separate the legs, and from here we pommel our right leg through. Now, our left leg comes off, we switch our hips, and we extend the right leg away to bring our partner's knees pointing away from us. Now the right knee replaces the right foot. Now we have a nice top pin from top side control. If, on the other hand, we come in, we feel like we can't get to a cross face and underhook, from here we come through, and now we reach over our partner's head, and now from here we just backstep through like so. Whether we go over the head and over the elbow, or we go under the arm, both are good. So now from here we take a scoop grip, and now we bring our left shin up, and from here we're ready to go into passes. Whether we're head down and walking behind our partner to north-south, or we overwrap, pull our partner's leg down, and give a big step up and over our partner's body. Okay. Now, we have to start dealing with our partner who actually breaks our posture and brings us down into attacking positions. Okay. One of the most common positions made famous by 10th Planet is rubber guard. Okay. Where my partner breaks my posture, she brings one leg across my shoulder line, and from here, she grabs her own ankle. Okay, like so, and there's variations that we can do from here. The problem is, my head now is controlled. She controls almost the longest lever of my spine, which is my head. She's directly below my head. So when I go to posture from here, and she just keeps her hand and ankle connected, it's very difficult to posture up from here. When I go to move straight back, that's impossible as well. So from here, I'm going to come in, I'm going to take 2 hands to the floor, and I'm going to immediately start to posture and bring my head over my partner's head. Once again, it's very easy to bring my head over my partner's by just leaning forward, and then my hips and legs become weightless. Now, if I just try to pull myself out of this position, you see it's useless because my elbows get caught on my partner's thighs. So from here, once I'm head over head, and you have to be directly head over head or else this won't work. If I try to do it from here, you won't be able to do it. So I make sure I'm head over head. Now from here, I turn my elbows down towards the floor. So that my my thumbs, down towards the floor. So that my elbows now don't get caught on my partner's thighs. So now when she goes to hold in tight, I just relax my arms and I limp everything through. And now again, we steal inside foot and knee position. Okay. So from here, we come in. She breaks my posture and she gets to this good attacking position in rubber guard here. From here, we post our two hands on the floor. And if we can initially, if we can take our right shoulder inside of our partner's arm and walk our shoulders forward, that's great. But a lot of times, this elbow dominates the inside position on my shoulder. So when I go to bring my right shoulder forward, it's useless. If I feel like I'm going to get stuck in this position, we come in. Even if she locks her two legs, her two ankles together, okay, but keep your hand there. Even if she locks her two ankles together, we just post our hands on the floor. We lean head over head, and we stand. Now from here, our two thumbs turn down. And as our two thumbs turn down, and we're head over head, we just relax and we just shake, shake, shake until our head and arm come down. And now we steal the inside foot position, and we're ready to go into passes from here. So now we're going to look at dealing with the seated opponent. Okay? Most of the time, if your opponent's in a seated guard, they're either an Ashigarami or X-guard specialist. Okay? If I just try to naively step my right foot inside of my partner's legs, she can always pommel her leg shin to shin and go into her attacks from here. And that's no good for me. Okay? In the early days, we would play a seated guard. People would just step in, and then we just leg lock them. The whole thing she needs from here to enter into an Ashigarami is one of my feet on either side of her body. Okay? If at any point she can establish this, she has leg locks. Okay? Or Ashigarami X guard. So my whole thing to make this more difficult for her, not impossible, but more difficult, is to split her legs with one of my legs to step a foot to the inside, or two, to step two of my feet to the outside of her body, which we'll cover later. Okay? But right now, we have to find ways to establish an inside foot. Okay? The whole thing I'm trying to do is put weight over my partner's feet. If she has weightless feet, she can follow my pommels and come shin to shin when I try to step inside. So my goal from here is, how do I find creative and robust ways to step my foot to the inside position on a talented resisting opponent? Okay? So from here, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a small step outside of our partner's leg. We're going to take a big step with our right foot past my partner's hip line. If I step across here, I don't put any real pressure on my partner. So we take a big step past my partner's hip line. My partner's hip line is just a line that connects her two hips. So when I take a big step past her hip line with an initial right foot, she has three choices. One, she can stay here in this back exposure. Two, she can fall to her back, and then we have grips on the shins and we go inside foot. Or three, if she has to follow me with her feet around to maintain a seated position. If she's in a seated position, she most likely wants to maintain a seated position. So my whole thing is to put weight on her feet through movement. So I go one step, and then I step initially past her hip line, and I just walk around my partner's guard. Okay? So from here, as she goes to follow me, now there's weight on her feet, and now we can step inside. Okay? I make sure when I step inside, I don't just step randomly to the middle. Okay? Again, the inside foot, like we talked about, is always a straight hamstring or cross hamstring. Okay? So from here, we always have a bladed stance initially. If my partner can expose my center line, now she can start to harass my feet. She can start to go into attacks, and she has Ashigarami and X-guard entrances. So my whole thing is I stand with a bladed stance. In a live situation, we're always going to be grip fighting from here. Okay? So she grips, I break grips. We're playing from here. We're moving around, we're playing with the feet. And now initially, we come in with an outside left step. A big right step past my partner's hip line, and as she goes to follow me, there's now weight on the feet. So it makes it incredibly easy to step a foot either straight hamstring or cross hamstring. And now we can go into all of our passes from here. Okay. The second way to come in is from here. We're going to start trying to push our partner back down to her back with a V grip on the shoulder. So that from here, when she goes to lean forward into me, if she falls backwards, then we step our foot to the inside. When she leans forward into me, from here, we change to a collar tie and we pull the head over the feet. So now again, there's weight on the feet. So when she goes to pommel her leg shin to shin, it's very difficult. And now you have an inside foot. Okay? So we're trying to push our partner down. As she leans forward, we come in here. Now when she goes to match me, you can easily get a foot to the inside. And third, we come in, we use the same V grip this time, but instead, we grab the opposite ankle. So now, again, she has two choices. She can fall back down to her back. We can go hands on two shins and bring our foot inside. Or she can stay seated. But the only way she can stay seated from here is to post her right hand and left foot on the floor. So that now she can back up with me as I try to drive her backwards. But the problem is, one foot is elevated and one foot's planted. So now as she goes to follow me, she can follow me backwards, but when she goes to pommel shin to shin, I can always bring a foot inside. Okay? So 3 creative and reliable ways to get our foot to the inside of a seated guard player who's talented and resisting. So now, off of this inside foot position, your partner has two choices from here. She can either fall back down to her back, or she can choose to remain seated. Now, because I have a foot so close to her, she does have things like single legs and attacks on takedowns and things like that. But like I said before, we're not just passing our partner's guard, we're attacking our partner's guard. And anytime we can get an extension of the limbs away from the body, the elbow moving away from the torso, the knees moving away from the torso, an extension of the neck, we always have submissions we can go into from here. So from here, I'm going to test my partner. I'm going to take a V grip with my right hand on my partner's shoulder, and I'm going to push her in this direction. If she falls to her shoulder, now we just go into our passes from here. But most people, again, want to stay seated. So if I push her in this direction and she brings her hand to the floor, this is a perfect opportunity now to go into Kimura setups. Where from here, I post my hand to the floor, I bring my head directly over my partner's elbow. And I have to have the confidence to roll through with my partner before I lock a Kimura. So I roll over my right shoulder and my elbow meets her elbow. So that from here, when we both roll through, we land in a position where we can immediately lock up, and now we have a T Kimura. Now, as you've probably seen in John's videos, there's a variety of different things that we can do from here. Okay, we can go to back takes, triangles, arm bars, Kimura finishes, all kinds of things. For our purposes, if we're just trying to pass the guard, we're going to use a left leg pendulum, and we're going to come up. Where from here, as we make a switch to two knees, we bring our left hand inside, and we sit our left hip down. What we don't want is to square our two knees up and have our partner bring her left knee into her left elbow and re-guard as soon as I come up on top. So from here, as I come up to two knees, I immediately sit my left hip down and I punch an underhook in. So now when she goes to bring her left knee to her left elbow, my hips are in the way. Now we have an easy crossface where we can walk back towards our partner's hips to, again, point my partner's knees and feet in the opposite direction of the escape. If you remember the goals we talked about earlier, it's pointing her knees and the feet away from me and pinning the shoulders and the head. And we've effectively established both of those right here. Okay. So once again, we come in, we establish this inside foot position, and we test our partner. If she falls down to her shoulder, we just do our normal passes from there. If she posts the hand because she wants to stay up, we post the left hand, we go elbow to elbow, and we roll up and over the shoulder, and we end up in this good position here, where now we can lock into a T Kimura. We have a variety of good submissions from here. Talking about strictly guard passing, we use a pendulum with the left leg, and we come up. As we come up, we make a switch where the right hand comes out, the left hand punches in, and we drop our left hip down. So that now we can take a crossface with an underhook, and that pins our partner's shoulders and head down to the floor. Now I make her knees point in the opposite direction of me. If I square my hips here and her knees point towards me, now there's no guard pass. So I always walk back towards her hips to make her knees point away from me. And now we have a nice top pin and side control. Okay? Now this is the Kimura on the one arm. This time we step in and our partner goes elbow deep with this opposite elbow this time. Okay? We have two Kimuras, where from here we come in, we lift the elbow, and we make space between the ribs and the elbow. So that from here we can bring our left hand through, roll over our left shoulder. And now we have the Kimura on the opposite side. Where once again, with guard passing, we use a pendulum of the right leg this time, and as we come up, we punch a right hand in, cross face comes in, and then we walk back towards our partner's hips to bring her knees facing away from us. Okay? So we have Kimura on the far arm here, Kimura on the near arm here, where from here we bring our head over the opposite elbow, we bring the left hand through, and we just roll over the left shoulder. Where now from here we use the right leg, the pendulum, we square the scissor the legs, and as we square the hips, we bring our hips connected to our partners. Where as she goes to come in and face me, I can easily walk my partner's knees away from me, and now I have a nice top pin and side control. Now, we step into an inside foot position, where we use a crossed hamstring for this particular passing series. Okay. Later, we'll talk about a straight hamstring where we can do more of our passes from there. When we step to a crossed hamstring, the main problem we encounter is my partner locking into a reverse De La Riva and going into inversions. Okay. Now, it would be great if I can stop her from actually inverting. But the problem is, as soon as I step in, she's going to start to go into inversions a lot of the times. Okay. So from here, we're going to start with what happens if she does invert, and then we're going to go into if I can stop her from inverting, how can I pass from there. Okay. But initially, we're going to start to go into as she goes to invert. From here, in order for her to invert, her head has to come between my two legs. Okay? If her head can't come between my two legs, she can't go into an inversion. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to monitor this leg. This will slow the progression of her leg coming up and around and going into a full inversion. The second thing I'm going to do is as soon as I see her head coming towards my far leg, I'm going to straighten this leg and I'm going to peel her sticky hook off of my hamstring. So that from here again, I can lean my weight onto one foot. I do this by bringing my foot, my knee, my hip, and my head all in one straight line. So that from here, I can pommel my left foot through and behind my partner's ankle. Now when she goes to invert, there's no inversion. The whole thing now is, as she goes to invert, I'm doing this. So as she goes to invert, as soon as I see this foot come higher than the level of her knee, I'm going to immediately pommel through, and I'm going to use a V-grip to bring her 2 feet to the floor. Okay? So I put my partner in this stack position, where from here I see her coming in, we immediately grab a V-grip on this ankle. Okay? In this specific position, we use a reverse V-grip, where as she goes to invert, I can control this, and then it changes from a reverse V-grip into a straight V-grip. Okay? At the same time, my feet pommel inside of her legs. So as she goes to invert, we're in here. We can do this preemptively as well, where from here, as soon as she enters, we pommel inside, and we bring her foot up. When this foot rises from our left leg, pommeling inside, the second foot will always rise. And now from here, we grab 1, 2, and we bring our partner's feet to the floor. Now, from here, there's a variety of guard passes we can do. The first one we're going to do is we're going to assume that we can get our shin over our partner's bicep. Okay? So from here, we're going to come in, we're going to take a tight waist around our partner's hips. So that from here, I can always keep her hips directly over her shoulders. If at any point her hips come away from her shoulders, she can shrug her shoulders backwards, and now she can flatten herself back out. So my whole thing is to keep her hips directly over her shoulders. I do this initially with my hips, but now my hips have to move so I can actually pass her guard. So we take a tight waist here, we take our bicep or our shin over our partner's bicep. Now that we're over our partner's bicep, we can pass in either direction. Where from here, we take our right hand through and we just walk our partner's hips to the opposite side. The main problem we're going to encounter now is that she brings her right elbow inside of mine, and she uses that to bring my upper body away and brings her knees back inside her chest. So she can dominate the inside position. So the whole thing for me is once I come in here and I push my partner's feet to the side, I have to bring my head down to control my partner's hips. So that when she goes to bring her knees inside, my head blocks the hip from the knees rising, and now we can circle around and we end up in north-south. Okay. So from here we come in. We use the method of getting to the inside foot, and our partner goes down to the floor. We immediately never accept this reverse De La Riva hook. As soon as my partner goes to invert, we bring this foot in, and we bring her foot up. So our left foot pommels behind the ankle, and we elevate her foot. Once one foot elevates, the second foot will always follow. Now we come down, we come over one bicep with our knee, and we take our hips, move them to the side, and we replace our hips with a tight waist. The first pass from here is we come in, and we shoot to our partner's far hip with our right hand. So we can bring her hips down to the floor, and then immediately bring our head in front of our partner's hips. If my head stays out here somewhere and she brings her elbow inside, she can bring her knees inside, and now she can invert back inside my guard and give me all kinds of trouble. So as soon as I get my hand past my partner's hips, I glue my head to her hips. Now when she goes to invert and bring her knees inside, bring her elbow inside, it's useless. And now we can circle back to north-south. Okay. The second pass that we can do off here is from here, as we go to pommel our leg inside of our partner's, we elevate one leg, and the second leg will always rise. From any position, when one leg comes up, the second leg will always follow. And from here, we bring our partner's toes to the floor, and we bring our hips forward. Now, from here, we're going to come in. We took a tight waist with our left hand, and we shot our right hand through. This time, we're going to take our left knee down to the floor, and we're going to switch our head from over her head to her far hip. And our right hand now is going to go into a tight waist. So we switch left to right. Okay. A lot of the times, when I go to push my partner's legs across in this direction, she can walk her feet out, and it's hard to actually push her hips all the way down to the floor. Okay. She can keep pushing off of her hips and her knees, and she can even post on her own leg with her hand, and it's hard to get her hips down to one side. So if this hand is giving you trouble pushing your partner's knees to one side, we come back and we push the knees to the opposite side, because her hand is pinned by my shin here. So from here, when we switch left hand to right hand, now we're going to bring our right elbow down to the floor. When she goes to keep her feet or her hips off the ground, it's very difficult from here. Now you put your partner in a dilemma. If she moves away from you, we achieved one of our goals. We put so much pressure on our partner that she gave us back exposure. And now we can go in and chase the back. If she moves towards you, she moves right into a top pin. And now we have a top pin inside control, where we have the knees pointing up towards the ceiling, which is not towards us, and we have the shoulders and head pinned down to the floor. Okay. So we come in. She goes to invert. We straighten the leg immediately, and we pommel this leg behind, where we bring one leg up, and the one leg will follow to the second leg. Now we walk around behind our partner, and we pin an arm down. Now we initially hold our partner's hips with our left hand tight waist. As the left knee comes down, the tight waist is replaced by a tight waist on the opposite side. So now, when my partner goes to use her left hand to frame on her own legs to prevent her hip from coming down on the opposite side, her hand is pinned by my shin. And now we just circle our partner's hip down with a pressure over our right elbow. If she turns away from me, now there's back exposure. If she turns towards me, now there's a top pin. We're always looking to bring this underhook in, and now we have a nice top pin and side control. Okay. From here, as we go to take our leg inside, we bring my partner's legs up like so. Another great pass we can do is from here, we can come through and we can reach to our partner's far hip or far shoulder with our right hand. Okay. Most of the time we come in and we reach towards our partner's far hip.
Now our chest is stopping our partner's hips from coming down. From here, as we go to turn around the corner, we're going to insert our right knee inside the pocket of our partner's left hip. So that from here, as we go to make a turn, the knee stays inside the hip. What I don't want is to just throw your partner's legs to the side, and then she just brings the knees back inside, and her hips can rise. So the right knee is what keeps your partner's hips pinned to the floor. So we come in, we have our legs inside of our partner's two legs. Now from here, we come in, we push our partner's legs to the side, and we just use our left leg to back step around the corner. Now when my partner goes to bring her knees in, we can scoop grip this leg. Because of the scoop grip and the shin across my partner's hips, when she goes to bridge, I always have my left hand anchoring me into my partner's legs, as well as a support left leg. When she goes to push me down the body, the wedge in her hips with my shin across the hips makes it impossible now for her to be able to push me down the body. So the bridge is useless, and to push me down the body is useless. Now the whole thing is, how can I actually get chest to chest? I can't just take my leg off and expect to pass my partner's guard from here. So the whole thing is, we're trying to pass to north-south, we're trying to pass to side control. Most times from here, I prefer to pass to north-south, because if I try to put a crossface in without the gi, she can always frame inside my shoulders, and now when I go to take an underhook, it's a disaster. So the whole thing from here, I'm looking to pass, is to put a reverse underhook in with my right hand. So now from here, when I go to take my right leg off, my head, again, drops to my partner's far hip. My left hand drops to her near hip, and now, when she goes to bring her knees back inside, I control both of her hips through my left shoulder and my head. And now we can walk around, and we have a nice top pin in north-south. Okay? So from here, for this same inversion, as she goes to invert, we immediately monitor the far leg, and we pommel our leg to the inside. So that from here we can come in 1 V-grip and 2 V-grips. Now, we walk around behind our partner, and we end up in this good attacking position here. Where now we take one of our hands, and we go through to our partner's far hip. Now the whole thing is to get my right knee inside of her left hip. So as I go to rotate, my left leg comes up, and I just backstep around my partner. If my knee is not inside of my partner's hip, and I just try to throw her legs to the side, she can always bring her knees in, her hips can rise, and now she can go into attacks. Okay? So the whole thing is, how do I keep her lower back and hips pinned in the floor? It's through my right knee position. Okay? So from here, as we come across, our right knee goes inside the hip. So now as I backstep and she goes to bring her knees inside, my shin keeps her hips pinned. And now, we take a scoop grip on the leg. When she goes to move around from here, you feel like you're gonna fall off, but it's very hard for her to move you around. Now, I come in, and we bring an elbow inside. With the gi, you can easily go into a crossface because you have fabric to hold on from here. But without the gi, you don't. So to actually hold a collar tie for a long amount of time is difficult. So she can easily bring her legs inside, or her hands inside, and start to make frames and push my head away from hers. So now when I try to come into an underhook, all her limbs are inside, and it's difficult. So instead, a reverse underhook is a much better option. So now as I slide my right knee off, my head again has to come inside of my partner's hip. If at any point she manages to get one of her elbows in, which against a good player is likely, now her right knee can connect to her right elbow, and now her knee is inside of my shoulder. So I make sure that even if her elbows come inside, my shoulders always stay inside of my partner's knees. Here. So now even if she has an inside elbow, because my head position is on the far hip, when she goes to bring her knees back inside, I can always keep her knees outside of my shoulders. When her shins come in front of my collarbones and her knees come inside my shoulders, that's where I can't put any pressure on my partner from here. It looks to a third party like I'm passing my partner's guard, but you're nowhere near passing from here. You have no ability to put any pressure on your partner. She can rotate internally inside of your guard, and now you're back to square one. Okay?
So the whole thing is how do I pin my partner's hips to the floor? We come in, we go to the far hip, and now as we step the leg up, we bring our knee inside the pocket of the hip, and we back step. So now we can switch to a scoop grip with a reverse underhook and walk around my partner's guard and end up in a position where we can get the passes from there. Now we step the foot to the inside and we go cross hamstring. My partner's down on her back and she's looking to go into reverse Delhiva inversions. And this is when I have my right knee up. If my right knee's down, there's not really any versions not many versions she can do from here. Okay? So from here, this time I feel like my partner has a sticky hook with her right leg. So I feel like pommeling my left leg behind her right leg and the time available is not an option. Okay? So from here, as my partner goes to invert, we're gonna take a scoop grip above my partner's leg, or above my partner's knee. I make sure that my right hand is placed above my partner's knee. Anything below the knee won't control the leg in any way. So we go above the knee like so. Now from here, we bring our left hand through the post on the floor and we slide our left shin across my partner's hips. Now from here, there's two directions we can go. First, we'll look at spinning the leg. From here, we post our left hand out, and our goal from here, again, specific goals from certain positions, is to get our left knee connected to our right heel. So that we can take our left knee all the way around the corner and underneath our partner's leg. Back up a little. We have a strong connection now of our knee and our heel. So now we have a full circle around our partner's leg. And now from here, we're going to start to lean forward to bring our two hands to the opposite side hip and lock a full figure of four. Now, from here, there's a multitude of things we can do from here. First, if we can get our partners, if we can get an underhook on our partner, there's easy passes we can do. If your partner's back is flat on the floor, you can always get underhooks. Okay? So from here, we come in, we punch an underhook in like so. We take our head to the floor on the opposite side. I need to put my right ear on my partner's right ear and actively push into her head. If my head position is off, she can bring her hands back inside underneath my jaw, and she can use that to push away and bring the elbow back inside. That's no good. So the whole thing for me is to bring my right arm underneath, pin my head to the floor, and actively push into my partner's ear. So when she goes to bring her hands back inside now, it's very difficult. Now from here, all we're going to look to do is unlock our triangle and step over our partner's body, like so. Where now we have a choice of going with one under and one over, or with a double underhook. Both are good. If we choose to go with a double underhook, we need to make sure that our elbows are high. If our elbows are low from here, and we're pulling everything down towards our hips, and we pass our partner's guard, and she gives a big bridge, I can easily be off balanced. Okay? So if we use an over-under, we're lifting the partner's elbow. If we're going double under, we have high elbows. So that from here, when we pass, and we actually get past our partner's legs, just to give a big bridge, I have a good base with wide elbows. You should make sure your two elbows and your head form one straight line, so that your elbows are on the same level as your partner's shoulder line. Okay? Now, to free the leg from this position, we've all been in positions where my partner has a death grip. I'm trying to bring my leg free and I can't get my leg out. We use our foot, lock better. We use our foot on our partner's top leg to free our heel. Once our heel comes free, now we switch to the bottom leg to bring the rest of our foot free, and now we're out. Now again, we have our partner's shoulders pinned to the floor, but we can't just square our hips up, because then her knees point towards me and the legs come back inside. So as always, we walk back towards our partner's hips to bring her knees and feet facing away from us, and now from here, we have a nice top pin like so. Okay? So from here, this is when we feel like we cannot bring our foot inside of our partner's leg in the amount of time allotted. Okay? So from here, she comes in, she goes to bring her leg into an inversion, and we scoop. We get down nice and low, so our left hand can shoot across our partner's body, and our shin can come across our partner's hips. Now, from here, we have to get our left knee around the corner and connect it to our right heel. All right. So that from here, we lean forward and bring our 2 hands to the floor on the opposite side. And now we're like a figure 4. Now we're in a stable position. When she goes to move me around from here, it's very difficult. And we have easy attacks on our partner's legs, partner's arms, and passes. Okay. So now from here, we come in. If we see my partner's shoulders are off the floor, it's time for something else. If we see her shoulders are on the floor, it's time for underhooks. So from here we come in, we punch an initial underhook, we come down ear to ear, we actively push into our partner's head with our forehead glued to the floor. So that now from here we can either use double unders with high elbows, or an over under to take my partner's hand out of the equation. Now from here the left leg comes over, we push on the top leg to free our heel, the bottom leg to free the rest of our foot, and then again we bring low hips down to walk our partner's knees away from us. We come into a nice top pin and side control. We're starting in a standing position. We're stepping foot to the inside position, and then we're finding ways to incrementally work our limbs inside of our partner's limbs to get to a top pin. Okay? The whole thing I'm trying to do is fight to inside position to pin my partner down. Okay? If I'm on top of my partner, right now, my right hand is inside, or my right arm is inside of her right arm. My chin is inside of her shoulder. My hip is inside of her elbow. And my shoulder is inside of her shoulder. My knee is inside of her hip on this side. So she can bridge and she can move around, she can do all kinds of things. Even if she was much bigger than me, she wouldn't be able to move me around from here. But if you contrast that, where she has all the inside position, where she can bring her elbows together, she can bring her hands together, and now when I go to squeeze her, her elbow and her arm is inside of my arm. I don't really have any control of my partner from here. Okay, her elbow's inside of my hip. So now all she has to do is give a quick bridge, connect her knees to her elbows, and now she dominates all the inside position. So my goal from the top, when I'm looking to pin my partner, is to dominate the inside real estate. Okay, and we're doing that by stepping inside of our partner's guard and incrementally working ourselves to inside position to eventually get to a top pin, okay, or back exposure or submission. Okay. So another great option we have from here. This time, my partner goes into a full inversion. And I feel like her head comes all the way in between my legs. Okay, when she goes into a full inversion, we end up in this position. Her knee needs to stay inside of my hips from here. If I just try to pull my partner's knee out, if she's naive, I can pull the leg out. Okay? But a lot of times, if she goes to keep her knee into her chest, and I try to pull her leg out, it won't work. So I start by initially attacking a toe hold. Now my toe hold has to be dangerous from here. So I need to put the correct mechanics on the toe hold to actually be dangerous. So we grab down by the long end of the lever, and from here we take our crease of our elbow and we connect it to the long end of our lever down by our partner's Achilles. And from here we take our left hand and we go up as high as we can towards our own hand, and we roll our 2 wrists forward. As I pull my left elbow back and take my right hand forward to bring her toes to her butt and her heel to my chin, if she doesn't do anything from here, you'll get legitimate breaks off toe holds. So what she has to do is start extending her leg to defend this. And now once I see an extension of the leg, my leg is going to come in, and again, I'm going to connect my left knee to my right heel. And once again, we end up in cross ashigaram. Now, from here, I feel my partner is doing a good job of negating an underhook from this position. Okay? So, another great option we have from here is from here, we're going to bring our knee down to the floor. We're going to take our hand in front of our partner's hips and our left hand over the head. Okay? This will all happen pretty quickly. If you try to do it in steps, it's going to be difficult. So the first thing we look to do is we control our partner's head in some way, usually with a reverse collar tie. So when she goes to move the head away from me, it's difficult. Now, as my right hand comes in, my left leg hops over, and we end up in this position here. Where now I can go fully over my partner's back, and now we knee slide straight out. As our knee comes through, again, I immediately have to bring my shoulder inside of my partner's hip. What I don't want is my shoulder being up here so she can turn into me, into single legs, and start creating scrambles where she can come up, and now we're into a position where either one of us could win. So from here, my right shoulder drops into the hip. So as she goes to turn into me, I can always push diagonally towards the shoulder and end up in a good top pin with my head in the correct position. Okay? So from here, we come in. My partner gets to a full inversion, and the knee comes in. From here, if I stay here and she starts pushing me forward, now she can start going into back takes and all kinds of different things. So we come in, we immediately attack a toe hold to get her leg extending away so she feels like she's not going to get broken with this toe hold. As she goes to extend, we're just going to scoop my partner's leg with the right hand this time, and we're going to look to bring our knee around the corner and our right leg in. So that now from here, we come in, we lean forward, 2 hands to the floor, and we lock an initial triangle. Now, from here, we start turning towards our partner. So right now, I'm facing so far away that I can never actually reach her. So I turn my head as far towards my partner as I can. Now from here, we come in with a reverse collar tie. And from here, we block our partner's hips. As we block our partner's hips, we just come up and over with the left leg. Okay. Now, if my partner is doing a good job with her legs of holding into my leg, from here, it's okay for us to slide our knee out in this direction. Usually, when we're working from this position, I can't slide my knee all the way out in this direction to free my legs because my partner's elbow can always come inside and her knee can come up to her elbow. But it's okay from this position because my right hand blocks my partner's hips. So when I'm over the head, from here, we can slide all the way out into this position. Now when she goes to bring her knee into her elbow, because of my right hand position in front of the hips, her knee can't come into her elbow. Now all I have to worry about is bringing my right shoulder down and blocking my partner's hip. So when she goes to turn into me, I can always pin the hips to the floor by driving diagonally into her shoulder, or to her hip with my shoulder, and now we have top pins. Once again, if her elbows are inside, my head can't be out here, because now she can lift and bring the knees inside. So I have to keep my head down to my partner's hips in order for me to fight back to inside position with reverse underhooks, or go back, or whether I can switch my hips and come into underhooks and cross faces here. Okay, so one more time real quick. So as she goes to invert, she gets her knee inside. I have to bring her leg to an extended position. So we start off by locking a tight toe hold that really puts pressure on our partner's leg. So as she extends it, from here we look to bring our knee in, and now from here we connect our heel to our left knee. If at any point your partner's scooping your leg and just being annoying, so you feel like you can't bring your leg in, we just switch scoop grips and use this hand to address her grip. Where I physically peel the knuckle line back, and now we bring our leg inside. Now we lean forward again, and we connect our hands to the floor so that we look to initially put an underhook in. If we feel like the underhook isn't an option, we turn towards our partner and we control the head with this reverse underhook here. Now from here, hand comes to the floor, left leg steps out and over, and from here, as we drive our right knee out diagonally in this direction, our right shoulder drops to our partner's hip. So that now when she goes to turn towards me, I can always maintain top pins and north-south or side control. So we just covered worst case scenario, my partner tries to invert. Okay. Now keep in mind that cross hashigurami entrance you can use when your partner's in a reverse de la Riva. You can use it when they're in a knee shield. Anytime their leg is outside of your hip, you can always spin around the leg and use it for either leg attacks or passes, kimuras, whatever you want from there. Okay, we're going to go over some more of those too as we progress. Now this time we come in, we step a foot to the inside, and we get our partner cross hamstring, and we get our partner down into a split squat. Now from here, if we can get a hand inside of our partner's hip and an elbow inside of our partner's knee, it makes everything extremely easy. The problem is people don't want to accept that. Okay, so first we're going to start on how to pommel a hand to the inside hip. If my partner's knee is down like so, I feel like I can never get my elbow inside of her knee. So a simple way to bring our elbow inside of our partner's knee is just to use our left hand on my partner's bottom knee and just to walk my partner's knee slightly up and open my right knee. I don't even have to come up off into a standing position. I just open my right knee and push her knee up, and I can insert my elbow now inside of my partner's knee. So as she goes to push me away, as she's playing from here we come in and we bring our elbow inside. Now, when you're playing to pass this position, there's two kinds of ways your partner can play. If they're naive, which we'll go over first, the basic, how to get past your partner's guard, you only have to get past your partner's top leg to get chest to chest. Okay? So whether I'm passing from a split squat, a half guard, doesn't matter. If your partner is lower level, the top leg will give you all the trouble. It's getting past this top leg, pushing and her pushing you away, and things like that. When you deal with a more advanced opponent, the top leg will be coupled with the top arm. So she'll be posting her shoulders, my shoulders, with the top arm, and she'll be posting on my body with the top leg. This makes it extremely difficult now for me to get past the upper body position. Because if the arms aren't in the equation, and I clear the leg by just muscling my way through, if I can get past this top leg, I'm immediately chest to chest. And now once again, her knees are pointing away from me somewhere, and I can pin the shoulders and head. So it's relatively easy to get past this from there. But the problem is, when guys try to crush the leg down this way or pull the leg down this way, if you do get past the knee, the hand's in the way. When your partner understands the value of a cross shoulder post, it makes everything much more difficult. Because now she brings her hand across to your far shoulder, she dominates your entire shoulder line. This hand dominates your left shoulder, the elbow dominates your right shoulder. So now when you go to get upper body inside position, this hand creates enough space for the knee to come back inside, and now you have trouble. So even if you do get past this knee and you try to come forward, the knee can always come back inside because your partner's arm's in the way. So we're going to learn how to deal with just the knee at first, and then when we get more advanced, we'll go with how to deal with the knee and the arm. Okay? Same thing from a split squat. If I'm here, and I do get inside of the knee, when I try to come forward, and she brings the hands in, it's difficult. Now she can use the hands to bring the knee inside, and I have to start from square one. Okay? So, assuming we can get a hand inside the hip and an elbow inside the knee. From here, we have our weight relatively over our hips. We don't want to be leaning too far forward in this direction. We just take the bottom knee, we open up our right knee, and we bring our right hand inside, or right elbow inside. Okay? Now, from here, I'm going to take my head and I'm going to lean over my partner's far shoulder. This head position over your partner's far shoulder is very important and will be stressed through all the tight passing that we do today. If your head isn't over your partner's far shoulder for most of these passes, it's going to make or break the pass. Okay? So our head is going to come over our partner's far shoulder. The reason being, if your partner from any position gets to an underhook or tries to sit up into you, the head on the far shoulder, my forehead, connected to her front deltoid on the far side, will stop her from coming into me. If from here, my head's out like so, if she brings her knees inside, she can come into an underhook, she can sit up into me from a half guard. If she tries to sit up towards me, she can. If she gets an underhook and she tries to come up high, she can. Okay? This simple trick with your forehead will completely shut down your partner's ability to move towards you. When she tries to sit up to her elbow, she can't. When she tries to get an underhook, she can get an underhook, but when she goes to use it, she can't. From a split squat, when she goes to come towards me from here, she easily can. Now, she can't. Now, from here, we're going to come in. Once our elbow and hand are inside the knee and the hip, we're just going to drop down to a position where now I drop to an underhook. From here, as I drop to an underhook, we come in and we take our head to either this side, and we do the same passing series we did before, where we free the elbow, or we come to a cross face and an underhook, and we do the same passing series we did previously to that, where we take our foot to free the top knee, and we come out. Okay? So this is assuming we can get a hand inside the hip and a knee inside the elbow. Okay, very basic. We come in, we step an inside foot out, and we have a foot out for base. Now, from here, we're looking to get inside position with the right hand and the right elbow. So from here, I'm just going to quickly lift her bottom knee and palm my hand inside. Now from here, I stay on my feet and I just come forward. And I drive into my partner to put an underhook in place. Okay. Now from here, we come in, we lock our two hands, either with a top head and arm, or If we feel like my partner is doing a good job of keeping inside position with her right hand, or she blocks my cross face, now we come over to the opposite side, and instead of using the hand to control our partner's head, we use our head to control our partner's head. So the cue for whether to use a top, head, and arm, or to use your head on the opposite side is contingent upon your partner's ability to keep inside position with her right hand. If she's lazy with the right hand, the top, head, and arm comes in, and she locks onto my ankle, and from here, we push 1, we push 2. If we feel I get to an underhook, but I go to put a crossface in and I can't, we just replace the hand with the head, and now we come in, we push 1, we push 2, and we're free. And then again, walking back towards our partner's hips to keep the knees pointing away from us.